Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today, bit of a feedback video as well. Go through the comment section, see what has been happening in the comment section, get some feedback on some of those topics being discussed there, and also give you an update on what's happening around the country at the moment. Lots of feedback on yesterday's video, something like 430 comments, lots of replies to people's comments there, and obviously when you mention the word vaccine or mass vaccination plan, which I think was the title of yesterday's video, no surprises to see so many comments in the comment section. There seemed to be a lot of misinformed comments yesterday. I don't know whether people understood exactly what I said in the video or whether people just decided to comment because they saw the word vaccination and they're not really interested in what the government is going to do regarding this vaccination plan here in Spain come January. Tomorrow, Tuesday, all will be revealed. The Prime Minister is going to come out and tell us exactly what this vaccination plan involves. Yesterday, he gave us a bit of a sneak peek of what is going to be announced tomorrow. He said that there's going to be something like 13,000 vaccination points around the country. And one important aspect that he mentioned yesterday is that it's going to be the central government who is going to control the vaccinations in this country when they arrive. As we all know, both health and education in this country are controlled by the autonomous communities, so 17 autonomous communities controlling their different health systems. We also know that it's Spain's 17 autonomous communities that are in control of the health crisis at the moment. They are the ones making the rules, making the regulations, imposing the curfews, shutting down the bars and restaurants, doing what they need to do to get the health situation under control in their particular areas. It was the central government at the beginning of the year who controlled the pandemic. Now the control is in the hands of these autonomous communities. But good news in my opinion, as I said, as it's going to be the central government who is going to control this vaccination plan, meaning that there's going to be one centralized common plan and not 17 individual plans, which can be a bit chaotic. Now, there seemed to be a few people commenting yesterday that this vaccine is going to be obligatory or mandatory here in Spain. That is not going to be the case. Politicians have said on various occasions that this is not going to be the case. It's not going to be mandatory. The health minister came out the other day and said that, and the Prime Minister has also said that it will not be mandatory. The health minister did say that they could make it mandatory from a legal point of view, but they're not going to do it because experts have warned that it could be counterproductive. He said that historically vaccination programs have been successful in Spain, and he thinks that a large majority of the population will go ahead and get this vaccine. And of course, there's also a fair bit of debate going on in various newspapers at the moment. I was reading one particular newspaper this morning, La Vanguardia. They had a poll there asking people if they wanted to be one of the first people to test this new vaccine. And something like 62% of the people that responded to that poll said no. Only 37 or 38% saying yes, that they would like to be the first people to try this new vaccine. So a clear majority of readers from that newspaper, or at least the ones who answered that poll, saying that they wouldn't be willing to be the first people here in this country to try the new COVID-19 vaccine. And I also saw a couple of comments in the comment section asking the question, who's going to pay for this vaccine, whether we're going to have to pay for it, and the answer is that here in this country, no. If you are in the national health system, you are not going to have to pay for the COVID-19 vaccine. It is going to be free in this country at least. So that's some good news. Now, the Prime Minister also came out yesterday and spoke about the upcoming Christmas season, saying that it's going to be a different Christmas here in Spain this year. He said that he wants people to have a safe Christmas, and of course what Christmas looks like this year is all going to depend on the health situation in the country. It's going to be very, very difficult to stop people traveling around the country, so I suppose they're going to have to lift those restrictions, but I imagine there's going to be restrictions as to how many people can get together under the same roof at Christmas time. People are going to have to be responsible, take the correct decisions, and the Prime Minister also said that perhaps this year it's not going to be a good idea to hug your relatives, and that social distancing is going to be the key if Spain wants to avoid a third wave of this coronavirus. Now, some of the restrictions in Catalonia come to an end today. Bars and restaurants are opening up again. Gyms are also opening up again. But of course, there's going to be limits to the amount of people that can go into these places. Those businesses in Catalonia have been closed for about a month now, or maybe a little bit more than a month. So some good news there that these types of business can finally trade again. Andalusia also came out yesterday and said that they're going to keep restrictions in place until the 10th of December. I think there were a couple of changes. I heard something along the lines that businesses that sell toys are allowed to stay open beyond that 6 p.m. curfew, and restaurants are also allowed to stay open until 9:30, but from 6 to 9:30 they're only allowed to sell takeaway. But a lot of the other restrictions, like the mobility restrictions, are in place, as I said, until the 10th of December. Obviously trying to stop people from traveling and stop people from traveling to Andalusia for this long weekend, which is coming up at the beginning of December. And I'm not sure what the feeling's like down there in Andalusia, whether people are happy with this extension of the restrictions. I'm not sure whether toy shops being allowed to stay open a little bit longer or restaurants being able to stay open until 9:30 p.m. is a game changer for a lot of people down there. I don't know if there is a big takeaway food culture in Andalusia. I think it's probably similar to the rest of the country, where people prefer to go out to places, to go out and have a drink, to go out and have a meal, not necessarily get takeaway food. There doesn't really seem to be a strong takeaway food culture in this country if you compare it to, say, Australia, where there is a huge takeaway food culture. Not only pizzas and kebabs, but a lot of other types of takeaway food very popular now in Australia. But here in Spain, I don't get that feeling. Obviously, things have changed a little with this pandemic, but I think in general people prefer to go out and have a meal rather than take it away. Now, you might have noticed that there were a lot of protests going on around the country yesterday because of this education reform. People took to the streets in their vehicles to show their discontent at that new law. Lots of people unhappy about some of the changes, especially the ones related to the use of Castilian Spanish in schools in some areas around the country, and also the role of these publicly funded private schools known here in Spain as concertados. The government wants to change the way that this type of school is run, and they also want to make them more accessible to certain parts of the population. A lot of these concertado schools are quite elitist, especially some of the religious ones, and a lot of these concertado schools offer private school facilities at a subsidized price. And the current government wants to have more control over how these schools are run. So that's what a lot of people are upset about at the moment. But to be honest, I don't think the government is going to back down. I don't think they're going to listen to these protest groups and make further changes. As I mentioned the other day, this is the 8th education reform in 40 years. And I suppose that if political groups like the Partido Popular and its supporters want change, they're just going to have to wait until they get back into power to make those changes, which I presume they will do. And finally, just a quick reminder for people that are planning to come to Spain that you may need to get one of these mandatory PCR tests done 72 hours before you arrive in the country. I think there's a list of something like 65 countries, and if you're coming from one of these 65 countries, you need to get this test done. But it's only if you come into the country by sea or by air, to a seaport or to an airport. There are no land controls. For example, if you cross the border with France or Portugal, you don't have to have one of these tests, but by plane or by ferry, yes, you will need to have one of these tests if you come from one of these 65 countries. And basically that's the whole of Europe, the United States, South American countries as well, and many other countries around the world. And apparently they're going to be handing out fines of up to 6,000 euros if you don't have one of these tests completed, and obviously it needs to be negative. So keep that in mind if you are planning to come to Spain either by sea or by air from now on. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.